A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television this Tuesday morning. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are this morning's headlines. Good news for 50 lakh union government employees. General Provident Fund norms relaxed. Minimum time for sanction of fund now 15 days. New UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath begins work on BJP's election promises, including farm loan waiver and ban on slaughterhouses. CM likely to meet Amit Shah and Prime Minister Narendra Modi today to decide on his ministers' portfolios. Second and final day of India-Pakistan talks on Indus Water Commission in Islamabad today. Both sides say first-day discussions cordial. Kishan Ganga and Ratle projects off the menu. BJP wins a flow test in Manipur. Economic blockade lifted in the state. Arrested United Naga Council leaders to be released unconditionally. Top story this morning. In a major relief for government employees, the Ministry of Personal, Public Grievances and Pensions has announced several relaxations in General Provident Fund rules. Well, this includes the liberalization and simplification, particularly relating to advances and withdrawals by the subscriber or the employee. Well, among the various changes in the existing GPF rules, the requirement of documentary proof for withdrawing GPF fund has now done away with, and a simple declaration by the subscriber or employee would now suffice. Meanwhile, the minimum time limit for sanction and payment of GPF withdrawal could not be more than 15 days, and in case of an emergency, it could be only 7 days. Also, the limit of withdrawal has been increased, following which the withdrawal for housing can be up to 90% of the balance at credit, and withdrawal of purchase of vehicle and can be up to 3/4 of the balance at credit. On to news from Uttar Pradesh. Well, the newly sworn-in Chief Minister of the state, Yogi Adityanath, is likely to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP President Amit Shah in Delhi today to discuss the allocation of portfolios to his ministers. Well, a 47-member Council of Ministers, including 2 Deputy Chief Ministers, was sworn in by Governor Ram Naik in Lucknow on Sunday. Meanwhile, on Monday, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister directed all state officials to declare their assets within 15 days, a day after issuing a similar order to his ministers. Well, the move is in line with the implementation of BJP's manifesto for fight against corruption. Meanwhile, in another development, 2 slaughterhouses were sealed by authorities in Allahabad. The National Green Tribunal had reportedly ordered the closure of these 2 slaughterhouses almost a year back. Now, Yogi Adityanath has also directed the state police to maintain law and order and communal harmony in the state. And on to the other big story. Well, it is the second and the final day of India-Pakistan discussions on Indus Water Commission in Islamabad today. Well, 113th meeting of the Permanent Indus Commission between India and Pakistan began on Monday after a gap of nearly 2 years. Now, a 10-member Indian delegation led by Indus Water Commissioner P.K. Saxena held closed-door meetings with Pakistani side headed by Mirza Asif Saeed. Well, after the first day of talks, officials on both sides said that the meeting was held in a cordial manner and they had frank discussions. Now, officials from both the nations discussed problems relating to the Indus Basin, with Pakistan raising concerns about the 3 Indian hydro projects being built on the rivers flowing to Pakistan. And because of the Pakistani position, Kishan Ganga and Ratle projects were not discussed in the latest round of talks. But the designs of Pakaldul, Lower Kalnani and Miyar hydroelectric plants were taken up. Now, the relation between the neighbouring countries have been under stress in the recent past. A meeting between the 2 sides planned in September last year was cancelled due to the Uri terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistan-based outfits. And it is yet another win for the BJP. After Goa, the BJP-led government in Manipur won the floor test in the State Assembly yesterday, cobbling up the support of 33 MLAs in the 60-member House. Here are all the details.
The BJP-led government won the floor test in Manipur Assembly, getting 33 votes in the 60-member Assembly. The lone TMC MLA also supported the Biren Singh government.
I really congratulate my teams, the honorable MLAs, including the opposition's MLAs. And this is a success of the Modi ji. It's not the BJP. Just whatever he has given the inspiration to the peoples of the state, and mainly the national leaders, really who staying here and working day and night.
With 21 MLAs in the 60-member House, the BJP is supported by 4 MLAs of the Naga People's Front, 4 of the National People's Party, 1 MLA of the Lok Janshakti Party, an independent MLA Asab Uddin, and a Congress legislator who was inducted in the Council of Ministers. The lone Trinamool Congress MLA T. Robindra Singh also extended support to the BJP-led government, allegedly without consulting his party.
The Government of India is committed to extending full support to all the development projects in the state. So our government will now embark on major mission of developing both the hill areas and the valley. There will be judicious allocation of funds to all the areas.
Earlier, the BJP elected Yumnam Khemchand Singh as the new Speaker of the House by a voice vote. Biren Singh, a former footballer and congressman who joined the BJP in October 2016, took oath as the Chief Minister on March 15th along with 8 ministers of his new cabinet after the BJP won 21 seats in the Assembly elections. The Congress emerged as the single largest party but lost out on government formation and alleged that the BJP was stealing power.
ये स्पष्ट हो गया है कि किस तरीके का उन्होंने उसमें मेथड इस्तेमाल किया है, क्योंकि देखिए जिस तरह से मिनिस्ट्री दी गई है, ज्यादातर लोग जो बाद में उनको समर्थन किया है उनको दिया है, तो ये क्लियरली मैं कहूंगी कि हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग हुआ है, चाहे पैसे का हुआ हो या चाहे मैं कहूंगी पावर का हुआ हो।
ये उनकी मजबूरी है कि उनके पास ऐसे लीडरशिप नहीं है कि जो फौरन डिसीजन ले सके और प्रदेश के हित में काम कर सके। यहाँ पर एक ग्रुप था, हमारा ग्रुप फॉर्म हुआ जो कि प्रदेश के हित में काम करना चाहते थे और वो ग्रुप हमारी मेजॉरिटी में थी और हमने अब वहाँ पर प्रूव भी कर दिया जो भी हमें करना था फ्लोर ऑफ टेस्ट में कि हमें मेजॉरिटी है।
With the government proving majority in the House, a 3-day budget session of the Assembly will begin on Tuesday with the address of the Governor. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the opposition Congress on Monday insisted on expeditiously taking up of its substantive motion on the conduct of governors of Goa and Manipur in the upper house yesterday. While the chair asserted that established procedure would be followed, the government urged the Congress party to respect people's mandate.
Raising the issue during Zero Hour, Congress's Digvijay Singh pressed for the prompt consideration of his substantive motion under Rule 168 on the conduct of governors of Manipur and Goa. Singh alleged that governors' conduct has gone against the established practice and constitutional propriety.
The motion of against the Goa governor, a substantive motion under Rule 168, I would like to know and request that when this motion will be taken up, because I have not been informed as yet and it's not been listed in the business for today. As you had mentioned that day, it will be considered and you will discuss it on Monday.
I'll reply to you.
Leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad and JDU leader Sharad Yadav also supported the early consideration of the motion.
ये विषय यहाँ जीरो आवर में इस पर उठाया था, ये मुद्दा हम लोगों ने और विपक्ष ने मुद्दा उठाया था और आपने फ्राइडे को ये बताया था ऑनरेबल मेंबर दिग्विजय सिंह जी को कि आपका जो मोशन है इस मोशन में गवर्नर का कंडक्ट डिस्कस किया नहीं जा सकता और आपने बताया कि उसके लिए सब्सटेंटिव मोशन देना चाहिए और हमने सभी विपक्ष ने कहा था कि हम मंडे को सब्सटेंटिव मोशन देंगे। अब इन्होंने सब्सटेंटिव मोशन दिया है और आज वो डिस्कस होना चाहिए।
शुक्रवार को ये बात हुई थी कि आज जो है वो रेजोल्यूशन जो उनका है दिग्विजय सिंह का आज आएगा और मैं मानता हूं कि इस वक्त गुजरने से बात तो वक्त पर ही होती है। मेरी आपसे विनती है कि आज के लिए इंप्रेशन था कि इनका रेजोल्यूशन आज मान लिया जाए।
The deputy chairman assured the House that the decision will be taken after examining the rules and procedures. The government also welcomed the chair's observation.
Honorable LOP, you are a seasoned and senior member, lot of experience in the parliament, both in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. You know, if a motion is given to the honorable chairman or to the office secretariat for that matter, there is a procedure to be followed up. And that procedure will be followed up and decision will be communicated to you.
आज चर्चा करने की कोई बात नहीं थी। जो शरद जी कह रहे हैं उस वक्त जो है वो माननीय दिग्विजय सिंह जी ने इस मुद्दे को उठाया था। हम लोगों ने कहा कि आप उस पर नोटिस दीजिए, नोटिस देने के बाद चेयर तय करेगी कि वो किस सब्स्टेंटिव मोशन में चर्चा होगी या किसी और नियमों के तहत होगी, उस पर हम लोग तय करेंगे। तो इसलिए मुझे क्या लगता है कि इस इशू को चेयर पर छोड़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि जनादेश का सम्मान शालीनता से होना चाहिए।
In the Goa election, the BJP bagged 13 seats while the Congress emerged as the largest party with 17 seats. In the Manipur elections as well, the Congress emerged as the largest party winning 28 seats while the BJP had 21 seats. The BJP, however, managed to cobble up the majority numbers in both states to win the floor test. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
I am demanding the central government to intervene.
And the Congress Central Leadership will review its performance in the assembly polls and introspect on the reasons for the party's defeat in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Well, party leader PL Punia said that the party's Uttar Pradesh unit has already embarked on the exercise and discussed reasons for the party's performance with all the candidates who had contested. He said that a review at the national level will be done on the return of party Vice President Rahul Gandhi from his visit abroad. Well, Rahul Gandhi has already spoken of structural and organizational changes after the result of assembly polls to 5 states. While Congress, remember, badly lost in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, it emerged as the single largest party in Goa and Manipur, but could not form the government in both the two states. And the two Sufi clerics who went missing in Pakistan last week returned home at Delhi on Monday. Well, the clerics, Syed Asif Ali Nizami and his nephew Nazim Ali Nizami from Delhi's Hazrat Nizamuddin Shrine thanked the government of India and Pakistan for their safe return, but remained tight-lipped on what led to their disappearance. Well, they also met Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj yesterday. Remember, they had gone to Pakistan on 8th of March to visit the Data Darbar Sufi Shrine in Lahore. They were reportedly missing since 16th of March after landing at the Karachi airport. Now, Nazim Ali, one of the clerics, rubbished reports by Pakistani media that the clerics work for India's intelligence agency, that is RAW. When asked as to why they were interrogated, Nazim said that they were asked about their visa and their immigration details.
हमारे बारे में कह दिया गया कि अंदरून सिंध ये गए थे, यहाँ मोबाइल वगैरह नहीं चलता था। हम सच्चाई का पैगाम देने वाले हैं, गैर कानूनी काम करने वाले नहीं हैं। तो जब हमारे पास अंदरून सिंध का वीज़ा ही नहीं है तो हम वहाँ क्यों जाते हैं। मैं पूरे हुकूमत हिंदुस्तान का शुक्रगुजार हूँ, खुसूसन मैडम सुषमा स्वराज के तहे दिल से शुक्रगुजार हैं।
And President Pranab Mukherjee on Monday presented the Gallantry Awards and the Distinguished Service decorations to the defence personnel at the defence ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan yesterday. Well, 13 personnel received a Shaurya Chakra, 14 armed forces officers received the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, 1 officer received the bar to the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, 3 were awarded Uttam Yudh Seva Medal, and 22 personnel got Ati Vishisht Seva Medal. Now, Major Rohit Suri, who led the army team that carried out the cross-border surgical strikes last year, was decorated with the second highest peacetime gallantry award, Kirti Chakra. While among various dignitaries present on the occasion were Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan and Arun Jaitley. And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back with more news.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
From cowries to metal pieces, Indian currency has seen many changes. The earliest punch-marked coins came from Gandhar. The East India Company at the turn of the 19th century also minted its own coins. The Indo-Greek coins come from a colony left behind by Alexander. They depict the golden rule of the Guptas, with embossed human portraits and matrimonial alliances like Chandragupta Maurya's wedding with Seleucus I Nicetor's daughter.
Welcome back after the break. Now, the Supreme Court Collegium has cleared the memorandum of procedure for the appointment of judges to the higher judiciary. Now, disclosing this, Chief Justice of India G.S. Kher said that the vacancies of judges in high courts will be filled soon. Now, the CJI is heading a 3-judge bench that is hearing a PIL on judicial vacancies. Now, Attorney General Mukul Rohtgi said that the Collegium had sent the MOP to the centre on 14th of March and now the centre is studying it. Well, this comes after 15 months of tussle between the NDA government and the Supreme Court's Collegium over some issues in the MOP, including rejection of appointments on grounds of national security. Remember, in October 2015, a constitution bench headed by Justice J.S. Kher struck down the NJAC Act passed by Parliament and directed the centre to frame a new MOP in consultation with the Chief Justice of India. And the Uttarakhand High Court accorded the status of living human entities to the rivers Ganga and Yamuna in a landmark judgment on Monday. While exercising extraordinary jurisdiction, the court gave the legal status of living humans to the rivers and ordered that the director of Namami Gange project, the chief secretary and the advocate general of Uttarakhand will act as the legal parents of the holy rivers. Citing the example of a river Whangyue in New Zealand, which has been given similar status, the court said that the officers will be bound to uphold the status of the two rivers and protect, conserve and preserve them and their tributaries.
आदेश दिया कि 8 हफ्ते के अंदर ये सारी प्रक्रिया पूरी करते हुए गंगा मैनेजमेंट बोर्ड और स्थापित किया जाए और परिसंपत्तियों का बंटवारा किया जाए। परंतु उससे महत्वपूर्ण यह है कि आज गंगा को जीवित साधारण शक्तियों का प्रयोग करते हुए न्यायालय द्वारा जीवित व्यक्ति का के समान अधिकार दिए गए।
जहाँ तक नदियों को जीवित नदी कहा गया है, तो हमारे तो शास्त्रों में कहा गया, ईशोपनिषद में कहा गया है कि ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वम यद किंच जगत्याम जगत, कि धरती के कण कण में भगवान का वास है। इसलिए हाई कोर्ट ने जो बात कही है कोई नई बात नहीं कही है, तो हमारे देश की मान्यता है।
हम तो गंगा को हमेशा से ही माँ कहते हैं, तो माँ लिविंग पर्सन ही होती है। हाई कोर्ट ने उसी की पुष्टि कर दी है।
And let's get you some more news from across the nation and nationwide. The CBI has registered preliminary inquiry in connection with the Narada sting tapes in which several Trinamool Congress leaders were allegedly caught on camera taking money. Well, the preliminary inquiry has been registered following the directions of a division bench of the Calcutta High Court. It is the first step of a probe by the CBI, where the agency assesses whether the allegations have enough material for registering an FIR. The agency has also reportedly collected documents related to the sting operation and has also examined some of the leaders. At least 7 people were killed when a jeep overturned in Gujarat's Valsad region. Well, as per information from the authorities concerned, 4 people injured in the incident were rushed to the nearby hospital. Real estate baron Gopal Ansil on Monday surrendered before the Har jail authorities after the Supreme Court declined any relief to him in the Upar fire tragedy case. Now, Ansil had earlier appealed to the apex court requesting more time to surrender on the ground that he had moved a mercy plea before the president. However, the bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kehar rejected the plea and directed him to serve the one-year jail term. And in what is being called an alleged hate crime, a Christian priest from Kerala was stabbed by a 72-year-old man in Melbourne on Sunday. Well, 48-year-old Tommy Matthew Karatupuhor was stabbed in the neck at the St. Matthew's parish. Now, a man armed with a knife stabbed the Catholic priest moments before Father Tommy was scheduled to lead the Italian language mass. The priest escaped with the minor injuries and has been released from the hospital as well. Well, the assailant has been released on bail and has been charged with intentionally and recklessly causing injury.
There was a large number of witnesses, but we are appealing for anyone else that may have seen the incident or that may have cited this male offender.
And news from Baghdad, where a suicide car bombing killed at least 23 people on Monday and wounded 45 others. Well, the attack targeted a commercial area in Baghdad's southwestern Amil neighborhood. Now, no one claimed responsibility for the attack, but Islamic State has been behind previous Baghdad bombings. Well, the attack comes even as Iraqi forces have been battling the extremists in Mosul, the country's second largest city, since October last year. Iraq declared eastern Mosul fully liberated in January and is now fighting for more densely populated western half. Iraqi troops are closing in on Mosul's old city, where some of the fiercest fighting is expected to unfold. Well, a series of large-scale bombings claimed by Islamic State have struck Baghdad since the operation to retake Mosul began. News from the United States now, and FBI Director James Comey has confirmed for the first time that the FBI is investigating alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. However, Comey said that his agency had seen no evidence to back up President Donald Trump's claims that his phones had been tapped by his predecessor, Barack Obama. Now, he was giving evidence to the Congressional Intelligence Committee. Meanwhile, the Trump administration said that nothing had changed and there was no evidence of a Trump-Russia collusion. Russia too has denied attempting to influence the US presidential election. Now, the FBI investigation would examine possible links between individuals in the Trump campaign and the Russian government and whether there was a coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. And in more international news, North Korea successfully tested a powerful new rocket engine on Sunday, a move that apparently timed to coincide with a trip to Asia by the new U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Now, while U.S. President Donald Trump called it a very bad act, South Korea said that the test showed meaningful progress in the North's missile capabilities.
US President Donald Trump has said that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was acting very, very badly just hours after Pyongyang conducted a ground test of a new type of high-thrust rocket engine.
At meetings on North Korea, he's acting very, very badly. I will tell you, he's acting very badly.
North Korea conducted the ground test at the Sohail launch site on Saturday. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called the test a great event of historic significance for the country's indigenous rocket industry. The Trump administration has recently ramped up its rhetoric on North Korea, which it alleges has been carrying out the tests in violation of the UN Security Council resolution. Meanwhile, North Korea's only ally in the region, China, has said that any chance for dialogue on the situation must be seized.
对话只要还有可能就应当抓住，和平只要还有机会就不应放弃。
South Korea, on the other hand, said that North Korea's latest rocket engine test showed meaningful advancement in engine function. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's get you some more international news in World Wrap. Several passengers were injured when a passenger jet crash landed in South Sudan's city of Wau on Monday. Officials said that 44 passengers were on board the plane belonging to South Supreme Airlines. Officials further said that no one died, but a number of injured people had been rushed to the hospital. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has ordered the reopening of the Pak-Afghan border with immediate effect as a goodwill gesture, considering the two countries' religious, cultural and historical relations. Nawaz Sharif hoped that the Afghan government would take measures to eliminate terrorists present on their soil. Pakistan, remember, had closed the border last month following the Sevan blast. And the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Beijing on Monday, vowing to advance innovation and cooperation. He said that the two sides need to speed up cooperation in the areas of basic science, modern agriculture, clean energy and biomedicine. And after the talks, the two nations signed a number of agreements in cooperation in economy, science and technology, commerce and civil aviation. Now on to some cricket news. Well, a 124-run fifth wicket partnership between Shaun Marsh and Peter Handscomb ensured that the third test between India and Australia ended in a draw. Well, Australia were 204 for 6 when the match was called off, with Handscomb on 72 not out. Well, the hosts failed to profit from the advantage that they had built up in the initial stages of the Australian second innings, as the bowlers could not run through the Aussie middle order. Now, spinner Ravindra Jadeja had given India some hope by picking up 4 wickets by lunch on the final day, but Shaun Marsh and Handscomb held on to give visitors a hard-earned draw. The 4-match series is now tied at 1-1, with fourth and the final test will be played in Dharamshala from 25th of March.
So play will carry on till 4:36 years.
And well, before we wrap up this bulletin, well, the nation is today celebrating 104th birth anniversary of Shehnai maestro Ustad Bismillah Khan. Now, one of the finest Indian classical musicians, he played the Shehnai for more than 8 decades and received various international and national acclaim for his performances. Well, a proud recipient of the Bharat Ratna in 2001, Padma Vibhushan in 1980, Padma Bhushan in 1968 and the Padma Shri in 1961. Well, the legend was born on 21st of March 1913 and he left for heavenly abode on 21st of August 2006. Here are the visuals. Thanks for watching.